Aaron Whaley and the Whaley Law Firm have been nice enough to come on the show and give you critical legal information. If you have a dispute, if you're in an accident, information is power. Aaron joins us once again. Aaron, I know today we're going to talk a little bit about liability disputes. Who's at fault? How do you get through that mess? But before we do, for those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about your firm.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you having me on. I love talking to people. I love giving people information, helping them out. I've been a lawyer now for, gosh, about 18th anniversary now of being sworn in back in 2002. Have had my own practice now since the very end of 2006. Been helping people on my own ever since then. And I'm local. I'm a local kid. You know, I wasn't born here, but I was raised here. Went to high school here, J-Town High School. Graduated many moons ago now, and still live here. Have an office down Linden Lane, and I love helping people out. I
think local is important here, not only because, you know, hey, we like folks who are local, and we always talk about shop local and all that, but also because your contacts here. I would imagine a lot of people probably went to law school with you, or folks that you know that are in the judicial system. If you happen to go to court, you know all these folks, and contacts are important. Okay, let's talk about disputes about liability. I would assume when we say that, it's like who's at fault, and you're going to have two different stories here, right. So this can get a little messy. Talk about that.
Yeah, you know, we talked last week about when we have to file suit and the types of disputes that arise when we file suit. And the most common one is liability. You know, what happened? Who caused the accident? And you're right, there's going to be two different stories. And frequently the most common reason is if we got a red light and we got a green light. Okay, so there's an intersection and one person goes through it, hits the other person, or maybe they hit, you know, front end or something. And everybody says they had the green light. Nobody ever raises their hand up and says, yeah, I was texting on my phone and I ran the red light. Nobody ever says that. So we've got to figure out a way to resolve that dispute. Now, there's things that you can do when you're at the scene that can help me, okay? You know,
so grab a pen, right? Because really, right. I mean, when something like this happens, you may not have the wherewithal to know, what do I do now? You're going to tell us. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, first thing, make sure you're okay. Okay, I don't need you, you know, limping on a broken leg out to go take pictures of the darn accident scene. But if you're okay, you can get out and at least move around, and you don't need the immediate help to go to the hospital, because again, if you need that, please do that. But if you get out, first thing you do, check for any witnesses. Did anybody see this? Frequently we see, where there's a red light, green light case, we see somebody sitting at the red light. And they're like, well, I was here and I had a red light, so that means that person there must have had the red light, and you must have had the green light. And talk to that person. See if they will stay and talk to the police officer. That's the easiest, simplest, most straightforward thing that you can do. And if that happens and they verify that you had the green light, that can oftentimes prevent a fight later on.
Yeah, because then you got a third party who has no skin in the game. It's like, I saw it, I know what happened. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, sometimes that person can't stay. You know, they're late for something. They got to go, or they don't want to stay. Get their name and number and let them know. Say, hey, look, this is going to go, and we're going to be a fight about this. Is it okay if my attorney, you know, Mr. Whaley's going to call you and get your statement? Make sure that's okay, get their information, and then we'll do that. We have investigators. We can send people out, get a recorded statement, give that information then to the insurance company. And again, you get that disinterested third party that lets us say, look, he has no skin in the game. He has no reason to lie. And so that means your guy ran the light, extend coverage, we move forward, not a problem. Now, sometimes there's not a witness, okay? Sometimes it's just you and the other person, all right? So now, take pictures, okay? I said this before on the very first episode. We talked about what you should do at an accident. This is where that becomes really important, because when you start taking pictures, you know, and I get pictures of the damage of the car. So now we see the impact, and oftentimes that's another dispute we have, is how much was the impact? You know, could you have been hurt? What types of injuries can result from sorts of impact? So those types of pictures then help us a lot. But also, if you can take pictures of the cars where they are, at their resting points, that can help us work our way backwards.
Yeah, because there's a science to it, isn't it? Because
absolutely.
Attorneys like you, police officers, they know positioning of cars and who would be at fault just from tire marks, things like this, where the car was hit, that kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. So I will use, and I've used on many occasions, what's called an accident reconstructionist. They get special training to basically figure out what happened. And so the more information we can give them, the better picture they can have. So not only pictures of the damage in the cars themselves, sometimes you hear about black boxes. Cars have black boxes the same way airplanes do. That will tell us whenever there's a recording event. So an impact is a recording event that then it saves the last 5 seconds of speed, if you're accelerating, decelerating, when you hit the brake, and we know that kind of information. So that can be important. And most cars, if it's been made in the last 15 years, will have that information in it. Another thing is if you're taking a picture and you see on the ground that there's skid marks, so we can see when they started braking, that becomes really important information. And that was actually the focus of a case that I took to trial once, where we had pictures of the damage, we had pictures of where the cars ended up, and we had pictures of what we believe were the skid marks. It was a tractor trailer, and it was those skid marks. And we were able to say, okay, that's the point when he brakes. And there's something called perception reaction time that they use, and it's been confirmed through experimentation that says that from the moment you see something and to the moment you react, okay, so you see, I need to stop.
Right.
And that goes through your brain, whatever the process is that sends a signal to your foot, comes off the accelerator and goes onto the brake, between 2 and 2.5 seconds. So that's how much time will lapse. Well, if we know how fast a car is going, we can tell how.
Do the math, yeah.
We can do the math, figure out how far that vehicle traveled during that time. And so that was really important in that case. We were trying to determine it was a red light, green light case. And our argument was that he saw the light and reacted, and it was a red light and reacted, and he kind of just slid through the intersection. It was raining, he was going too fast, and that was our argument. I had another case recently at night. Client's car stalls in the middle of the night, in the middle of the road. That's pretty dangerous. You got to get your car off the road, but he couldn't, and another car comes through and smashes it at almost full speed. So our reconstruction was able to look at the car that hit him, knew what kind of lights were on there, knew how far out that he could see. He's like, he should be able to see this far ahead, and if he can see this far ahead, we know what perception reaction time. If he has, he sees him, reacts, does what he's supposed to do, hits the brake. If he had done that, it would have been an impact, but it would have been a really light impact because he would have been able to slow down. But what that black box told us was that he didn't hit his brake until less than a second before impact.
Interesting.
There was no way, he was doing something else. He was daydreaming, it was late, he was tired, something. And so that allowed us to say, yeah, look, our guy was, whatever the problem was while he was in the middle of the road, that's bad, but your guy could have stopped.
There we go.
And our client was not alive, so that becomes a big issue. So even a small amount of liability on the other side can oftentimes be well in excess of whatever insurance they have available.
And you've got medical experts, you've got people who've done this for years to help you have those kind of contacts because, as we mentioned before, all of the experience that you have. Again, the Whaley Law Firm, let's put the information on the screen. As you can tell, nice guy, local guy, knows his stuff, and he will handle your case. He will not hand it off. We'll take a quick break. Again, thanks to Aaron Whaley of the Whaley Law Firm. We'll be back on Wave 3 Listens.